Hello, this is Celeste of Astrology by Celeste, and I am here. I wanted to do a video about Mercury retrograde in general, some predictions I made last year for this Mercury retrograde, as well as what I think is coming up. And I wanted to talk about this today because I wanted to talk about the Epstein files related to Mercury retrograde, because Mercury retrograde is about paperwork, files coming to light, things from the past. So this may be a little long, but I really want it to be comprehensive with a full breadth of to help if you're just an astrology interested, adjacent, whatever. I hope people will get something out of this. I want astrologers or astrology students to gain some new tools in order to predict what may be coming up and help yourself and your clients understand this important transit and how it may be showing up for them or yourself. And yeah, we had a Capricorn moon last week. So it's a great time to go back and review your work. So I went back and started reviewing the what I did for Kepler last year, the last couple of years for Kepler College. What I've done is I talk about the upcoming year's retrogrades and eclipses and give predictions of what I think is coming up, or things to look for. And oh, I was hitting it on Neptune retrograde and Saturn retrograde for that matter. I did that. I put my updates on threads. I'll put my link to my threads in the notes. And that's where I'm an astrologer, I'm a coach, but I'm also an intuitive, and I call myself a mystic um, because I get downloads. I'm a Cancer rising, and I have Uranus at my IC. So I just get these intuitive downloads, psychic hits, as well as being an astrologer. And astrology is very heady. And so it really helps me get into my intuition with, my downloads and stuff. Okay, let me do my presentation. And it's a Mercury retrograde in Leo, so it's going to be dramatic. It's going to have some fun stuff as well as hard stuff. But, we deserve Christmas in July. This is what I should have called it. I should have called it Christmas in July, but I'm calling it Mercury retrograde in Leo, lifestyles of the rich and the famous. And it will become clear why. In case you don't know who I am a board member of the Organization of Professional Astrology, OPA, and I teach for Kepler College and Astrology School. My podcast, which drops every week to help you navigate the energies of the week, is called the Celestial Insights Podcast. You get a theme, three things to look out for, three transits, and words of the day and deep dives into the astrology to help you prepare for the week. I teach and speak at conferences. I'm a Taurus sun, Aries moon, and Cancer rising. And my background is I came from corporate. I spent a lot of time in corporate. So I bring my corporate life to my career as an astrologer. So I like to have a presentation to keep me on track and get grounded. Because, if you know me, if you watch me, I can go on a tangent and start talking about go left when I'm supposed to be going right about something else. So I'm trying to stay focused for this presentation. And so I always like to start with a quote. And immediately there fell from his eyes as it had been scales. And he received sight forthwith and arose and was baptized. This is the story from the Bible in Acts 9:18 about Saul and his awakening and coming to Jesus. So Mercury retrograde, just some of the basics about Mercury retrograde. What is Mercury? Mercury is the planet of communication, transportation, technology, contracts, and thought processes. It goes retrograde 3 to 4 times per year for 3 weeks. Life goes on, but this is a time that a lot of people pay attention to now, even if they're not interested in astrology, because they've witnessed the things that happen with Mercury retrograde firsthand. And so during this cycle, you often see miscommunications. There's some confusing message. You get a text, you don't understand it. You send a text to the wrong person. You're copied in an email you aren't supposed to be copied in. Yet there are arguments over what was said. Um, this year, there was a huge Mercury retrograde issue where 3 days before, while we were in the pre-shadow, member of the Trump administration, Mike Waltz, invited a reporter, Jeffrey Goldberg, into a Signal chat where they were discussing war plans. And that was when Mercury retrograde was in retrograde in Aries, which rules war. So that was an example recently. This stuff can have big, Mercury retrograde can have big implications. There was once in San Francisco where the pilot, because it rules thought processes, something was going on with this pilot coming in from Japan or China, and he missed something went wrong and he crashed the plane into the runway. And people are like, how did you do that? It was Mercury retrograde. So, because there can be technical glitches, like I don't remember if it was, this was like over 10 years ago, if it was his instrumentation or his thought process or how this happened, but it was horrible. And I believe people died. I know it was Mercury retrograde at this time where I worked for a company and they were doing some layoffs, and a manager accidentally copied someone they were laying off and was saying not so nice things about them. Well, it wound up in a lawsuit. These things can have serious implications. In addition to, oh, you're just late for a meeting or whatever. Yeah, I mean, relationships break up during Mercury retrograde. Ooh. Yeah, or their big fights can be happening. Even as an astrologer, uh, I can get caught in the trap of Mercury retrograde. So there can be like the emails, the files corrupt, apps crash, and all this kind of stuff. Travel delays, always leave the house early. Get to meetings early. Double check your presentations. Like, because these are the things that there can be traffic snafus, car troubles, and your computer can go bananas. I mean, there are all kinds of things that can happen during these times. Contract confusion. Important details are overlooked, clauses misunderstood, and you might not catch it during Mercury retrograde. It might show up months later, where if you look back at when the contract was signed, it was during Mercury retrograde, and there was just yeah, the brain is thinking slower, distracted, or whatever, and you didn't see it. Mental fog with difficulty concentrating or forgetfulness. These are the things that routinely show up with um, Mercury retrograde. But let's talk about the spiritual. I want to talk about the spiritual as well as the mundane and give examples. I'm a mundane astrologer, which is the astrology of worldly events, in addition to being a natal astrologer. Oh, and I do chart rectification, where if you don't know your birth time, I can help you. But retrogrades really are wisdom gates. They invite us to learn lessons about ourselves. Can you slow down, reflect, and realign with purpose? They're sacred pauses. They're moments of rebirth, realignment, and reconnection with our inner truth. They are a time retrogrades to go within and excavate the the things related to Mercury, the sign it's in, and the house in your chart it's in, and any aspects it's making. These can be times where you really unpeel the onion, do some shadow work, learn more about yourself. But we have to remember, oh, and I wanted to do this slide first, so I'm going to do this slide. And see, this is like I wanted this slide before the next slide. So when Mercury retrogrades happen, you're supposed to do the RE words: reflect, recharge, reassess, recommit. You can think about, and if you're watching, you can drop some RE words in the comments if you like. Okay. So they're an affliction. What retrogrades do is, and all of them, and all the planets go retrograde except the luminaries, the sun and the moon don't go retrograde. But what they have a potential for life altering events. They pull back the tape, exposing what is underneath. We can see most commonly delays. So you can think about delays, reversals, conflicts and disagreements. This is a time, be aware, like fiery people, some people are going to have like some fiery arguments that end relationships. So be mindful of this. Reoccurrence of previous situations, things like happen again that have happened before. Secrets revealed. Erratic events and mistakes can happen. The collapse of anything contemplated can happen. Like say you're about to sign an agreement to whatever, and one of the people backs out. I'm sure like tons of this year we had all of these retrogrades where all these tariffs and all this kind of stuff. There were so many agreements that were about to be signed that it delayed them, it pulled them back. They may have even collapsed because of the herky-jerky energy, the affliction of it. Your ghost comes back. Your ex is in your DMs. You run into a friend you haven't seen in a while on the street, and return of lost items is possible. There's a technique that I use called horary, where people will come to you and have a question. And when you understand it, the astrologer, you cast a chart, and the chart can help you answer the question. And it's commonly used for lost items, and it can be really helpful to find things. Okay. So I talked a little bit about Mercury. He's the god Hermes. He's depicted with wings on his head and heel. This is where we get the transportation. There's movement. Mercury is the closest planet to the sun, so it whips around really fast. It typically moves at a degree a day. I feel like this is why it's so noticeable when Mercury slows down to go retrograde, which is an optical illusion where a planet looks like it's going backwards through the zodiac. Yeah. And he's the messenger for Zeus. Um, I think FTD, the flour company, and FedEx use variations of Mercury's stuff to in their logos. Mercury is the trickster. It's very mischievous. So there can be a lot of funnies with Mercury retrograde. Like if you remember during COVID, there was a guy in court whose cat filter, and he's like, "I am not a cat." That's like the Mercury trickster energy. The Mercury is the psychopomp who guides the souls of the dead into the afterlife. Mercury rules siblings, neighbors, children, pickpockets. Mercury's job is to articulate, but it can also destabilize and argue. So keep that in mind. Articulate and communicate. Yeah. Rules primary schools, like the post office, any kind of place where you're uh moving letters and stuff. It's a planet of commerce, transportation, and communication. Passports are mercurial, any kind of paperwork. People who are mercurial, journalists, writers, gymnasts, travel agents, diplomats. Cars, computers, phones are ruled by Mercury. The roads, you can think about because it rules transportation. And in terms of the body, the hands, the wrists, the shoulders, like kind of from the shoulders through down here, but also the lungs and tubes of all kinds. Tubes of all kinds, Mercury rules, like tunnels, like mm, your aorta is a tube. Okay, Mercury is going retrograde in the sign of Leo for this cycle. Leo is a fixed fire sign. It holds the energy. Some characteristics: Leo energy is loyal, warm, entertaining, charismatic, radiant, creative on the high road. It can also be dramatic, vain, arrogant, bossy on the low road. Um, and some things to associate with with Leo. And if you see stories around these topics, fireplaces that fix fire is Leo, like a fireplace that, ooh, it can really warm you. When you're in the presence of someone who exudes Leo energy, because the sun is the planet that rules Leo, you can feel like, oh my God, you're like, a Leo can make you feel so important and like you're in the like you're really being cared for and focused on, or they're the people we look to, like there were a lot of actors and performers have Leo energy, celebrities, um, that sort of thing. It rules recreation events, the heart, and the low back. So be careful lifting something too heavy. Like Mercury retrograde in Leo, you can go to retrieve a package. It's so heavy. It's a package of, I want to say CDs. Why would you have a package of CDs? I don't know. But anyway, pretend it's CDs. I say CDs because that's like entertainment, recreation. And you lift it and you hurt your back. That could be your Mercury retrograde experience if it's happening like in your sixth house of things that go wrong with your health, talking to your son or something like that, or ascendant, like making a quincunx, which is the health aspect to your ascendant. Yeah, if you have an ascendant at 15 Leo or 4 Leo, be mindful. Wait, no. Wait, not Leo. 15, if you have an ascendant at 15 Capricorn or 15 Pisces, that's when you want to be extra careful because Mercury is stationing in your this is me off on a tangent. Mercury's making king comes to your ascendant, king comes to our health aspect. Done. Okay, so these are some of the archetypes for Leo: the sovereign, the queen bee. You can think about Mean Girls. That's such a Leo show that plays the crown games of the people who are trying to vie to be the queen bee. Yeah, or Into the Circle of the Beehive. Yes. There's a Beyonce story coming before the. I'm going to tell you a lot of stories. I'm going to be getting to the Epstein files. Yeah. The narcissist is like thinking the world revolves around you like the sun. Performer, the actor, the attention hog. Golden child, protector, or entitled brat. Like if you have bratty kids or if you have lovely kids, they might be extra bratty during this transit with Mercury retrograde and Leo because it's dramatic energy. Yeah. And dramatic can be good, but it's like Leo energy can show up and show out when someone gets upset, their coffee's cold and starts screaming at the barista or whatever, and just causing a huge scene. That's the shadow of Leo energy. So what are planetary retrogrades? They're an optical illusion where it looks like a planet is going along and appears to stop and then move backwards and go over the same ground it already did and then go back over again. We're zooming forward more to, so it's like the road is traveled three times. The same road is traveled three times. For this Mercury retrograde, we entered what is called the pre-shadow. So Mercury's going along, and then as soon as it passes the place it's coming back to, you enter the pre-shadow where events start happening. And then it keeps going on, and you think you got away with something, and like there are going to be people caught in affairs with this one. I guarantee it. By texts, by some kind of communication, whether it's a charge on a credit card, a text, stuff. I'll tell you why in a little bit. But anyway, and then it's going to stop at 15 degrees of Leo it's either July 17th or 18th, depending on where you live. Um, on the East Coast, it's July 18th. And then on the 18th, then it's going to go back over old ground. And this is when the stuff really starts to happen. Like yeah, we review stuff. So there can be an event when Mercury stations retrograde. Um, and then, there's something going on where it's reviewed. And then it stops here on August 11th and then goes direct. And you have like the psychological integration. So events can happen anytime after you pass this point. And then there's like a call back to it and it's psychological integration. But it passes this last point, August 25th. So there's a big period of the retrograde. I really think, you know, you can think about, especially being mindful 5 days before and after the station on both sides is where it's most intense. So I wanted to talk about the shadow period because this is important, not just the retrograde period, because the pre-shadow, before you go retrograde, when you walk over the ground for the first time, there can be themes starting to emerge, subtle signs, small disruptions, intuitive nudges. There can also be big disruptions. But typically related to this, there's small disruption. Then the problem may arise once it hits retrograde and starts going backwards. This is a time for review, reflection, recalibration, redoing whatever you have to. Like if your car got stolen when Mercury went retrograde, then you're like calling the company, you're doing all this stuff during that retrograde period to try to get it back. I know part of my story is I got a new phone like in May, and if something is not working that great, and I have to call AT&T because I want them to help me fix it or replace it because it works fine at home, but when I'm out and about, sometimes it won't get signal even if I have 5 bars. So that's, I know, going to be part of my retrograde story. Yeah. Ugh. And then afterwards, it begins once it stations direct in the post retrograde. This is the integration phase. You're tying loose ends. You're applying lessons learned. It is a time for clarity, closure, and conscious choice. Okay, so I think it was November 30th of 2024, I presented for Kepler College, and this is what I wrote about this Mercury retrograde. I called it a raisin in the sun because I was thinking about that at this time we were going to be having intense problems with heat because of the Saturn Neptune retrograde in Aries, a fire sign, and Saturn Neptune like this like oppressive Saturn's oppressive heat. Aries is a fire sign, and Neptune, it just feels like you're just like sweltering and sweating in certain places. Yeah. And then retrograde Leo, that's the sun. The Mercury's answering to the sun and is like, stop. Yeah, you really get the theme of heat. Plus, Mars is conjunct the North Node. Mars rules fire, and this feels um, like your routines and rituals, your everyday life, the earth. Virgo is an earth sign, could be hot. So that's kind of why I called it a raisin in the sun. Now, 15 degrees of the fixed signs are world points. If you don't know what world points are, I did a thing for Kepler. It's on YouTube. You can just search Celeste Brooks and Kepler College World Points, and you should be able to find the recording. I explain all about what world points are. But this is what came to me when I was doing this. Avoid theme parks. Mercury stationing retrograde in the fifth house. The fifth house rules recreation, fertility rates. It has association with education. But I got an image of someone at a theme park. Oh, there's a problem with the ride, and they're like broiling in the sun. And actually, I get them upside down because retrogrades rule reversals. They could even be a roller coaster hanging upside down. And I think this is a metaphor for the Epstein files. Like if they come out at this time, you know, this place was like a theme park, and people, will be whoever names come up, if there are new names that come up, they'll be like they're sitting in the broiling sun. And you could say that this is what's happening to the president right now because he's under a lot of heat about this stuff. Okay. Small world. It's real, never mind. Heat stroke, I wrote. I expected there to be heat stroke problems. I wrote, buy a fake ticket for a concert. Mercury is the trickster and fifth house. Travel delays, that's every Mercury retrograde. There may be a big story about a travel delay, but regardless, people will be having travel delays. But I feel attacks with Mars in the South Node. Mars attacks. The South Node is a drain. Um, I also put strikes over pay and working conditions. The sixth house is the house of workers, and this is specifically for the United States. And Virgo rules farmland. Virgo has associations with farm, but the sixth house is like the labor force, the workers who do the work. And the South Node being a drain, like I got them taking action to go on strike. Diplomatic conflicts. The fifth house also is associated with, um, it has association with embassies, diplomacy, that sort of thing. Yeah, fire. Leo's a fire sign, and there's a lot of fire in the sky. And with Mars conjunct the South Node, that's where I got this stuff. So some of these things are already showing up. So on Monday, Mercury's already to 14, maybe even 15 degrees. And the Supreme Court lets Trump fire hundreds of education workers and dismantle the agency. This is something that's been going on for a while. And he tried to do it in the beginning of the year when there was a retrograde. And so that slowed him down when there was Mercury and Venus went retrograde from Aries to Pisces. And now, as we get to the next retrograde, it starts going forward. But yeah, I'm calling this within days. This is a big thing. And let's go back and look at the chart. Jupiter, education is the fifth house, but the Supreme Court, Jupiter. Oh, the Supreme Court, ninth house, Jupiter, makes an announcement. Hmm. Okay. Diplomacy. These two popped out at me. The the UAE, they're having intense. This is July 15th. This notice if the story takes on bigger proportions. Turkey is going to the UAE and to talk about the Syria and Israel stuff, trying to get these people to stop, to come to an agreement for a ceasefire. What's happening in Gaza is unbelievable. The horror. Okay. The Pentagon is pressuring key allies about a war with China, like Australia and other countries. So maybe Japan. So pay attention to if something is leaked or comes up around these things, or if there's conflict that escalates. Attacks. Elmo's was hacked on Twitter, on X, and I mean, I loved how he told Donald Trump to release the Epstein files and and he's cursed at the president. Um, but he also unleashed a torrent of anti-Semitism, which is not funny at all. Yeah, the account has been secured and the post deleted, but I mean, they're out there. This is very sad. And Elmo is a Leo type figure, recreation, education. So it fits the fifth house, Mercury retrograde. Like Mercury retrograde, someone cursing is yeah, using language, really coarse language is Mercury retrograde. And in Leo, it's dramatic. And Leo rules children. Yeah, so this has everything in it. Uh, and the hate piece about the anti-Semitism, what is happening this Mercury retrograde? Saturn went retrograde last Saturday, and then Mercury's going retrograde on Thursday, Friday. So they're very close together. So there's a lot of Saturnian stuff that's going to go on with this Mercury retrograde. Unfortunately, these people were killed during a robbery, but American Idol is a Leo type show, but violence attacks with the Mars on the South Node, I'm sure their charts, you would see this in their charts. So the president threatened, this was a Saturn retrograde in Aries thing. On that day, he threatened to take away Rosie O'Donnell's citizenship, which he has no authority to do because he didn't like something she said. And she lit him up with her response. You can go read it somewhere. But yeah. Um, Yeah, something's coming we're not going to like with him. But anyway, she called him at the end King Joffrey with a spray tan. And I had predicted that someone was going to come for the king, a king. It didn't have to be him with Mercury retrograde in Leo. And then he went for her and she gave it right back at him. That's like the retrogrades can be like a boomerang. You throw it at someone else and it hits you right in the head. And then Josh Hawley is a senator, is urging the gnome to declassify the Butler rally assassination attempts document, declassifying documents. Let's reveal them. That's a request. We'll see during the retrograde if that happens. There's some there's some video going around where people are questioning things about that, what a Secret Service agent was doing during the assassination attempt. It's strange looking. That's very Mars South Node in the sixth house. The Secret Service, I would give that to the sixth house, the employees of the president. The president's the 10th house. The sixth house is a general rules employees. Yeah. Fertility. Social Security costs could rise if fertility rates stay low. This feels very, well, workers, sixth house get Social Security. Strike over pay conditions. The farm workers are going on a nationwide strike against these raids July 16th through 18th. Mercury goes retrograde the 17th or 18th, depending where you live. Now, another thing I need to add to this, Mercury retrograde, people will say things they normally wouldn't say. Things come out of people's mouths before they realize it or have time to think about it. Like you just say something that you would normally never say. Um, Not that it's, yeah. And this guy, he's some guy who's on Fox News. He wants people, MAGA, I guess, to start calling each other Nazis. Now, I don't know. I think this is going to come back around. I don't know if he's going to be apologizing for this tomorrow. It was so out of line. I mean, there's I'm not even going to go down this, but I wonder if people at Fox are going to be, some people at Fox, especially if they're Jewish, are going to be up at arms about this. Especially if, are they going to start talking to people like that in the staff room? I don't think that's going to go over well. I put that under strikes and pay and working conditions, but we'll see if it comes back. Maybe Fox News is going to start saying, "Hey, my Nazi," as they come online. It would align with the actions that they support. That's a little snark. So, okay, heat stroke. Burning fossil fuels is this climate change and all this kind of stuff. Fire at a place of recreation. This happened on the day or day before Saturn station retrograde. Saturn rules structures in Aries of fire sign. This history burns as a Grand Canyon wildfire destroyed these things. 1930s era. We're not, I don't think we're becoming a fascist nation. There are too many things that are showing that this is not going to happen, like that plantation burned down. Um, there are all these signs and symbols and signals. I think we've got to go through this hard time, and it's up to us to stand up for our values and whatnot. Not going to be easy. It's going to be hard, but I don't think so. I could be wrong, but I don't think we're going full fascist. No, I don't. They're going to try. Okay. So, recreation issues. To buy a fake ticket for a music conference. Beyonce's car was broken into, not her car. Beyonce's employee, her choreographer's car was broken in during on the night day of the full moon in Capricorn. She's having an eighth house year and she's in her Uranus opposition. Now, her Uranus is at 26 degrees of Scorpio, but you still feel it, you know, for at least another 5 degrees. And even though Uranus has moved into Gemini, it's going to come back into Taurus. So there are themes that she's going to be experiencing. And a Uranus opposition is when things come up outside of yourself where there's stressors, unexpected sudden things, or it can be a person wants freedom from things. And she's got her moon next to Uranus. Her fans get so excited about her in Scorpio. They're ride or die. They're ready to fight people, the beehive. They are wild, very, very serious. Yeah. So this is a Uranus opposition type event, having the car broken into. Some of her music was stolen and some other things. But we've been seeing this coming, like something is coming that I don't think is done. And your employees are the sixth house. And look, she has Mercury in the sixth house. And as Mercury was in the shadow, and she has Mercury conjunct Saturn, was in the shadow, her employee had had this problem. And she has Chiron on her ascendant. With the 5 degree rule, it's on her ascendant. This is a time on the whatever she put in Cowboy Carter. There's also a time out there from her mother that's a little different. It's like 40 minutes earlier. So, but I'm using this. And the full moon was across the moon at her midheaven, the most public point in her chart. The people. And the full moon happened last week, but events will still keep cascading and can continue to the cascade, especially for 2 weeks after the full moon until the next new moon. And the sun at her IC, the most private part in her chart. And she's been having like Uranian events. Her pants fell down while she was in England. And when she was in Houston, there was a problem with the car. Like, I have not liked her flying in that ding dong car across the stage at all. And there was this thing where it went like this, and they had to rescue her. And one of the reasons I really, really, really don't like it is because she has her south node in the 10th house. And the south node, when it's activated, it can be symbolic of, and I learned this from Wade Caves, falling from a height. And I see it over and over and over again. When Mercury retrograde stationed on to go direct on my south node in my third house in Virgo, I I was walking my dog. I wasn't paying attention. I tripped over. I mean, I was paying attention, but the city had cut off a parking meter and it was sticking out, and I was changing my radio station. I wasn't paying full attention. And I tripped and I went flying and I landed on my wrist. Oh my God, it hurt so much. It was horrible. Now, but they weren't I was okay after I got through the shock. And so what happened, I couldn't go to Pilates that day because I was in so much pain. Like, I was almost in shock. So that was a delay in the collapse of something contemplated. I wanted to go to Pilates. I couldn't. Now, I really think if Mercury had stationed to go retrograde, if the problem happens when Mercury stations to go retrograde, it can be longer lasting because you go back over all of those things and then go back through. If it happens when it's stationing to go direct, it's less likely to have long term as a long term implications of it. Still can be something really serious, but yeah. If it has to happen, it's better at the end of the cycle rather than the beginning, is my observation. Yeah. And you see Mars on her sun, Mars attacks. And yeah, I wonder if somebody's going to be like, are people going to try to sell this stuff? Could there be something that's embarrassing that she doesn't want people to know? Or maybe they're just going to try to blackmail her or something to get her music back. Because there's unreleased music that she's probably worked extremely hard on that's gone. And oh, it's just so awful. And her employee, Saturn and Neptune opposite her Mercury, I assume they could likely be getting fired. Why are you leaving? And who leaves anything important in a car? Yeah, in a city? Yeah. But anyway, yeah. And this is interesting. Her Jupiter is squaring her Saturn. Maybe she'll get it back. I don't know. We'll see if there's more talk about this. But I thought when I wrote this, so sometimes I get like my downloads I was talking about, and I just write stuff and then I'll post it on threads. This is something I do create just my creative stuff. And I wrote behind the crinoline curtain, the five biggest offenders, the limousine driver, first class, the amusement park, when I was thinking about this. And I said, someone's coming for a king, will they miss? I wrote that, and then it was like the day or so after was when Trump and Rosie O'Donnell had their thing. But after I saw this Beyonce thing, I wonder if this could be about her about her. I thought it was going to be, I thought these were going to be about Jeffrey Epstein. We'll see. But this is someone on a ride in an amusement park. It malfunctions and they're left hanging upside down in the air. And this could be symbolically this is kind of what Donald Trump is going through when people won't stop talking about Epstein and he's just making up stories. But okay, so the story of Saul really comes to me around an important transit that's happening for years. Saul was one of the persecutors of early Christians, but on the road to Damascus, a divine light blinded him, and he heard Jesus ask, "Why do you persecute me?" He was blind for 3 days and then healed, and the scales fell from his eyes. This was a spiritual awakening, and then he became Paul the Apostle and part of helped spreading Christianity. And I am thinking this is really relevant because I'm calling this chart pattern. This is something I do. I will call specific chart patterns a name. This Pluto, Uranus, and Neptune are all in a mini grand trine. And Uranus entered on the 7th of July. Uranus in Gemini. Gemini is air, air communicates and connects. Uranus is sudden events, a wake-up call that shatters preconceived notions. And it's making a smooth, easy-flowing trine to Pluto in Aquarius, the sign of the collective. Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius are air signs. They are humane. They're about the interactions between people and thought and ideas and all of this kind of stuff. So Pluto, a concept of social power dynamics is transformed. And there's stuff going on about it. Surveillance is a Pluto topic. Conspiracies is a Pluto topic. And there was this whole conspiracy about Pizzagate and people eating children and all this kind of stuff. I mean, anyway. And then Neptune's in Aries, and Aries rules the eyes. And Neptune has been in Pisces, where it's easy to just spread deception from 2011, I believe, until this year. And now it's in Aries, and I call this transit Pop the Balloon, where people who are potentially enraptured by a cult come to an awareness. And this is what has happened with the Epstein files issue. And this is like deception is being washed away from their eyes. Like this ice, I can see at one of these raids, like someone like taking off their vest and refusing to continue to brutalize people who are picking our food and working in hotels and just trying to have a life. Uh, mm, I hope not, but I wonder if there's something that was stolen from Beyonce that will change people's opinions. Like maybe they'll see her like in her work ethic and da 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 doing stuff and be really impressed. Yeah, that could be what happens with Beyonce. This is my representation of Epstein Island. And that's what people are going through. Okay, so let's talk about the Epstein files. On July 6th, Axios, and obviously it was leaked to Axios that the FBI was going to release a memo, which was released on July 7th about that Epstein had no clients list, he died of suicide, and he wasn't blackmailing anyone. And I talked to Dabney Lawless yesterday, and you can you can go to Lawless Astrology and watch it. And we talked about Epstein and the Epstein files and Donald Trump's chart related to it. But this was the Uranus in Gemini event. Uranus went into Gemini and it shattered people's minds and conception. What do you mean there's no Epstein file? They've been talking about it for years and how he was going to, it's all about the Democrats and he was going to put all these Democrats in jail. He was going to unseal it. Da 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 da. I really feel like this Venus in Gemini is representative of Pam Bondi. On the day that, on this day, Venus was trying Pluto, and Pluto is like conspiracies. And in the United States chart, this is the United States chart, we have a Libra midheaven. So Venus rules the midheaven. So when Venus is active in the sky, there will be something related to the whoever's president and the executive branch because it rules the 10th house, either that or workers, because the sixth house is ruled by Venus in the United States when it's activated, especially by conjunction, square, or opposition. But Venus and Uranus met at 29 degrees of Taurus on July 4th, which obviously they didn't want to release it then. But I really feel like Elon Musk pushed their hand when he said Trump was in the Epstein files and he started talking about Steve Bannon's in the Epstein file. I think that's why, and I think what happened is Donald Trump said, make this go away. Tell people they'll believe me. They think I can shoot someone on Fifth Avenue and everything will be fine. Everything's not fine. These people are furious with them. And you can see Venus is trying the Saturn Neptune, trying Neptune retrograde. Uh, Neptune rules deception, myth, secrets, all of this kind of stuff. And you can see the moon is opposite Venus. So the moon is the people, and the Sagittarius moon, the United States is a Sagittarius rising. We have an Aquarius moon, but this is symbolic of um, the people and the leader are on opposite sides. They're like, what are you talking about, Willis? What do you mean there's no files? Burn It All Down was what I called Saturn retrograde. And on the day of Saturn retrograde, Representative Ro Khanna filed an amendment to the Genius Act, Uranus and Gemini. That's like genius energy. Uranus is the higher octave of Mercury. Mercury rules the thought processes. Mercury's at home in Gemini. So someone, there are going to be people who born today that, oh my God, yeah, they're gonna like people born right around now that have that road of Damascus in their natal charts. Wow, there's going to be somebody, not everybody, but somebody with Uranus angular and like who have this stuff strong or prevalent that are going to like do mind-blowing things. Yeah. And this was a cryptocurrency bill. Venus rules money that would require them to release everything. And what he did was he got everyone on file. Everyone had to vote, and that every Republican voted no. They did not want the Epstein files released. So this gets people on record with Mercury in the shadow. I think they'll be doing ads at the midterms. So this will be one of the points that these people said don't release the Epstein files after they talk about releasing them. Um, and yeah, you can see his chart is very activated. And you could see he wasn't going to get his way because Mercury is coming back to his uh, Saturn blocks. So it's not surprising. He didn't think he got what he wanted. And the sun, the South Node is on his sun. Ah, it'll be interesting to see. Well, people are saying, his opposition is saying some nasty things about him. But it'll be interesting to see what's going on with him when Mars comes to its sun. Hmm. Because the South Node can be but we don't know his birth time, so we don't know what house it's in. But I call that burn it all down. Because if they released it, all these very wealthy, very powerful people who went to this island to abuse young women or children, um, would be in big trouble. Okay, Elon Musk is a big player. He he in this fight with Donald Trump. If you listen to the Celestial Insights podcast this week, I talked about this, so I don't want to belabor the point. Trump tries to bury the scandal, but Elon won't let him. He has Twitter, so he's X. He keeps bringing it up, and he has like millions of followers, so he's making the problem worse. So what happened? He's been talking about this, talking about how it should be released. I swear I thought saw something that he said he has the files. And he landed this Pentagon contract days after his Grok, which is AI, spewed some horrific anti-Semitic stuff and called itself Mecca Nazi. And the Pentagon is going to be using an AI tool who's role modeling itself after a Nazi. And what could go wrong? Yeah. And you've got like people who have no idea what they're doing. Like we have a Fox News host at the head of the Department of Defense, and he's going to be using AI to come up with strategy. Great. That's Nazi oriented. This is not good. But anyway, what Elon did is he parlayed this information that he has. See how the sun, which rules his second house of money and income, is in a smooth, easy flowing trine with Jupiter, the planet of wealth, in Scorpio. Scorpio can keep secrets. Scorpio rules conspiracies. Uh, yeah, blackmail. And all of a sudden, he's got this big contract after a falling out with the president. And look how Mercury is stationing on his south node here. I thought he might like figure he might release the files. We'll see. We'll see what happens, but maybe his silence was bought. This is Mercury retrograde on the outer wheel. But Mercury on his south node, that could be symbolic of falling from a height. So see what we'll see what comes with him. And it's really interesting. Uranus is coming to his Saturn. Uranus on Saturn, which rules his seventh house of the partner. Well, we already know he and Donald Trump had a huge falling out. And his eighth house of death, debt, taxes, deep psychological processes. Yeah, intimacy. In Gemini, children. Mm. Okay. And so I wrote this late July. She has a great that's a singer, Nicole, who has a great, she's just witty. And she wrote this on thread. So I wrote, Mercury retrograde is time when it's right. It's always inconvenient, but necessary. And Die Hard is one of my favorite movies, and it's perfect for the energy of Christmas in July. I'm calling this Christmas in July because I know there's going to be more juicy stuff coming out. We deserve to witness the drama from our seats. And this John McClane said this, and this is so what Mercury retrograde can be: a fly in the ointment, the monkey in the wrench, the pain in the ass. I had no idea when I posted this, but apparently it's the 37th anniversary of Die Hard, and people there was like I saw multiple posts on on threads about it, and it's a Christmas movie because it takes place during Christmas, but it was released in July, and I didn't like my brain just came up with this anyway. I thought that was funny, but then I went and looked at Ghislaine Maxwell's chart, and she is born on Christmas Day. And so then I wrote, after she posted this, she's offered to testify to Congress about what she knows about the Epstein network. She is trying to get a pardon to get out of jail. And will the king let her out? Mercury will meet the sun, and that's called Cazimi, when planets meet the sun, to start a new cycle, burn old stories, and the symbology is sitting next to the king and asking for a favor, and it will likely be granted. She wants a pardon, which is like a piece of paper. It's um, yeah. And she is in her Uranus square. It is exact. I thought it was exact next week, but it looks like it's already been exact. She's in her Uranus square right now, her closing Uranus square. And her birth time is a double A. So Uranus in the 12th house of prisons, square Uranus in her fourth house of home, and look at Mercury retrograde on her moon, which rules home. Is she going to get to go home? Is he going to pardon her because she has the goods on what he did at Epstein Island? We'll see. And then here's Jeffrey Epstein. Your chart lives on after you die. Something to note, a big thing that's going on now is Saturn and Neptune are conjunct. And I'm calling this the architecture of deception. And with the retrograde, it's coming down. And I got that from watching a video Noam Chomsky had done. So he has this conjunct, they're conjunct in the sky. His time is DD, dirty data, so it may not be right. But if it is, you can see that the full moon was across. No, the full moon was at 18 degrees of Capricorn. So trine his midheaven. Mars and the south node at Mercury retrograde are hugging his midheaven. The south node like digs things up and throws them out. It's like a trench. Mercury is stationing between his south node, which has to do with the past as well, and his Pluto, power, conspiracy, all of that kind of stuff. And he's got Mars and Venus conjunct, and they're getting ready to make a square. This is another reason that, oh, sorry. See how Venus is in Gemini. It's sextile Mercury stationing. And I think it's exact on Friday. So this could be the pardon. And but then Venus squares Mars, and that could be the fallout from the pardon, even more from the MAGA faithful. People are splitting off from MAGA because they're so mad about this. I mean, it's a big thing. Like all of this corruption, they were told it was going to be, people were going to be held accountable, and then there's nothing to see here. People are furious. Okay. And the scales are starting to fall from their eyes. That's the road to Damascus chart pattern. Think about how the scales are falling from your eyes. I have had over the last couple of weeks, even before, you can feel a new sign before you get there, like having these understandings, awakenings about all sorts of things. It's been really incredible. Okay, so that's Epstein, and Saturn and Neptune are right near his moon. Yeah. And Jupiter is coming to his Uranus. Jupiter Uranus could be a shocking thing coming out. And in fact, oh, Venus and Jupiter are going to meet very close to his Uranus. We'll see what happens. So I was thinking they were going to come out this week. If you listen to the podcast, I get songs every once in a while, every day. And I did this week. The episode, what was the episode called? Oh, crap. I can't remember. What's this week's episode called? But it was definitely about the songs were about the Epstein file. It's called A Raisin in the Sun, which is my image of people broiling in the heat, but it's also Elon. Elon is an Icarus type figure who is going after the president so hard. He's like an Icarus flew into the sun and his beeswax melted and he crashed into the ocean. And I'm really getting this imagery, like feeling it with Elon. I mean, he's just going on, like he's pushing and pushing and pushing. And we already looked at Elon's chart. And with the south node on his Mercury on his south node, he could like slip and fall in a bath. I called the new moon in this lunar cycle, the new moon in Cancer, which was conjunct Jupiter, knowing Uranus was going into Gemini. I called this the energy of this cycle is like throwing a hair dryer into a bathtub. And that feels like Jupiter can give us a little too much confidence, assuming things are going to go well. And he's got Mercury on his ascendant. So when Mercury's retrograde are activated and stationing on his south node, he needs to be extra mindful of his health and vitality. Yeah, is what I would say. Or he could use this in a great way by releasing or maybe that was Elmo. Maybe, I mean, never mind. Let me just shut up. Okay. If this was, if it's not released, I think the files are going to be released, or there's going to be people like the rich and famous are going to be held in account in some way about what they've done to these children. At some point, it's coming. How long it's going to take, I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if things come out during this cycle, or maybe it doesn't come out, but the repercussions of like the MAGA falling away from the president and being disenchanted um with politics could be something. But so Neptune went retrograde, and then 2 days on the 4th, and then on the 7th, we found out there's nothing that the justice memo. So this Epstein thing is all part of Neptune, Saturn, then Mercury, then Chiron go retrograde all in July. So this is like showing us that all of this going to the past is a big theme of what's happening now. And you can see if we set this for Washington, D.C., we are going to be in a Mercury will have Mercury will still be in its shadow. It'll be it'll be direct, but it'll still be in its shadow and it'll be opposite Uranus. This could be coming out of secret information. This might have to do with the election. It might not have anything to do with Epstein or not. But this could be Neptune direct, since they said it when Neptune went retrograde, it could like come out when Neptune goes direct. And look, the United States is the Sag rising, Venus is on our ascendant. Could be something nice for the country, and the sun on our ascendant. We'll see. Or, well, Mars could be a problem. We'll see what happens. But we'll see. Okay. So at the beginning of the year, I like put together this whole big thing for an Instagram post. I wound up not posting it because, and I went through and I started talking about like the bigger picture of and what happened last April 20th of 2024. Jupiter and Uranus met in the sign of Taurus, conjunct the beheading star Algol. It was at 21 Taurus, Algol's at 26. And I had I posted about this then. It was eclipse season where the eclipse was on the Chiron of the United States. and that this was like a reckoning was coming to people who had like Jupiterian, the rich, the people who just they have whatever they want, but they were going to be stressed. And there was going to be a lot of tension. And Jupiter Uranus have a 13-year cycle. So we're only a year and a half into the cycle, not even a year and a half into the cycle. But I wrote a bunch of stuff, but this is what I want to talk about. I wrote this. The next episode, Venus and Mercury retrograde in Aries, the excavation. I would say that the Michael, not Michael, well, we're excavating about the Epstein files, but in the spring was Signalgate was kind of like an excavation. Hmm. June 15th, this was the day after the military parade, How the Mighty Have Fallen. I mean, there was the squeaky tag. The soldiers looked like they didn't want to be there. People were protesting. There were millions of people in the streets and barely anyone in the stands. You could really see how his base was already falling away before this debacle. And this, I wrote this early this year or December. Yeah. I wrote Uranus and Gemini, awakening to reporting about child abuse. Gemini rules children. Uranus is perversion, is one of the shadows of Uranus. On the nose. That this is the day the Jeffrey Epstein files. We were told nothing to see here. This is also the day the Supreme Court said that Donald Trump could take away the Department of Education. I think these both are child abuse related. Now, this is July 17th through August 11th, Mercury retrograde in Leo, and I call that the lifestyles of the rich and famous. So we know Beyonce's gotten something stolen. Uh, there may be other stories. Well, there will be other stories. Leo rules celebrities. And I'm sure Kanye is going to be doing something nuts. But anyway, I said accountability begins with the fall eclipse season, with the South Node solar eclipse at the degree of crisis and decay, 29 Virgo on September 1st. And we're also going to have a Mercury retrograde. It starts in Sagittarius, but it ends in Scorpio, bringing up deep secrets. The last time, I don't know if it was the last time, but never mind. I'm getting off track. Whatever. I came up with this Bible verse, Amos 9:13. Behold, the days are coming, declares the Lord, when the plowman shall overtake the reaper, and the treader of grapes him who sows the seed. The mountains shall drip sweet wine, and the hills shall flow with it. I feel like this is Pluto in Aquarius and the South Node in Virgo, that we're going to turn the beat around these, that where the uber powerful are going to be held to account. Virgo is accountability and 29th degree on steroids. So upcoming events, I am going to be giving a 3-day intensive about predictive astrology at the OPA Cosmic Shift Retreat, October 15th through 19th. There are other track leaders that I can't believe I'm in the company with, to be honest, but Lynn Bell, Rachel Lang, and Rick Levine are all amazing. They're going to be talking about different things. There's also going to be astronomy for astrologers with I mean, all these astrologers are amazing. Consulting skills and peer groups. So if you want to join, register at opaastrology.org. You can also reach out to me. I have a coupon code. So you can email me at celeste@astrologybyceleste.com if you want to sign up. So, but go look at it, see if you want to come. It is going to be phenomenal. We were there last year. It's so beautiful place. The community connection is so enriching. It's going to be fantastic. I'm also going to be speaking for Kepler in Niagara Falls. This you can join online if you want. I'm going to be talking about relating in the age of Aquarius, but this is going to be so great. Oh my God. September 4th. I want to do more on my YouTube channel. And so I am partnering, I'm an affiliate for Stormy Grace. She's an amazing astrologer, and she's going to be doing a 5-day YouTube breakthrough challenge. It's going to be on Saturdays starting August 2nd. And if you want to join me, I'm going to take it because I really want to do more on YouTube. Instagram, they shadow ban me, and because I talk about politics and stuff. I mean, yeah, I'm going to be doing more on YouTube. So you can join me if you want. Please use my link. I'm going to put all my links in the description. And I'm part of a free summit August 8th through 10th with, oh my goodness, Christina Claudill. Claudill has organized it, and it's just an amazing group of astrologers. And it's astrology for the zeitgeist, revolution rising. I talk about eclipses, and then there are going to be round tables. It's going to be really amazing. Excuse me, my throat is getting really dry. But final wisdom, there's no need to be fearful of retrograde, but just be aware because there are opportunities for amazing learning, but there are also times of frustration. There are times to slow down, not start new things. Mercury retrograde, don't buy electronic equipment or big contracts if you can help it. There's sacred pauses. There's no need to fear them. Just stay present. Life goes on, but consider them with planning events. You don't want to get married when Mercury's retrograde, or because what it suggests is there's going to be a change in thought processes or something, because marriage is a contract. There's going to be something about it that's not great. Yeah, if you break up during a retrograde, it may not be final. Um, but life goes on. Just consider it when planning events. Yeah, if you can help it. It's not the best day to fly, although you can fly. I mean, I've flown with Mercury retrograde and how it's showed up. I left for a trip on Mercury retrograde and it showed up in numerous ways, but little ways. It was like um, I went to New York City, and a couple of us we were supposed to meet at like 15 West Street, and some people went to 15th East Street or something like that. Like we were in two different places because there was a mix up of that. That's minor. There was this, I wanted to walk on, I don't know what it's called. It's called the elevated something in New York. You can walk on, you go up these stairs, and I went to go walk up it, and the entrance was closed. So I had to go blocks away to get up. It caused me to have a delay, a detour to get up to the elevated thing that I could walk in New York City. There was also other delays and things. Oh, there was a problem with the bill at the hotel because my sister and it cost me money. But let's not get into that. So that was frustrating. And that was all about communication. Anyway, don't get me started on that. I love my sister, but this was something that was uh okay. Anyway, you can go to my website, come get on my mailing list to stay abreast to what I'm doing, as well as you can get my free guide about the moon cycles. I also partner with Tiffany, the Wise Skies Calendar. You can go to wiseguyscalendar.com/astrology calendar. Use ABC 2025 for this year, 2026 for next year for $10 off. This calendar, it puts all the transits on your phone or laptop, your phone, your laptop, your iPad. Yeah, it's so great. And she has a video that shows you how you do it. And this is where you can find me. I'm at astrologybyceleste.com. You can listen to my podcast. That's my weekly thing. I teach moon mastery, astrology and foundations. I'm going to be teaching living astrology daily in the fall. I'm going to be doing something fun and creative and more intuitive based. We'll see how that goes. Right now, I'm at Instagram Wednesdays and Fridays. I think I'm going to move Friday to YouTube. And then I'm on all the things at Astrology by Celeste, but my main platforms are going to be YouTube, Instagram, and I do threads for creative kind of fun. Anyway, I do personal readings, events, classes. I do mentoring if you're an astrologer and want to work on some skills one-on-one. Yeah, I do all sorts of stuff. But yeah, as you can see, I love astrology. Thank you for taking the time to listen. I hope you enjoyed it. Please like and subscribe to my channel and share it with other people who might be interested. Take good care. I hope you found something interesting. You must have if you're still watching. Um, and informative. And take good care of yourself through this Mercury retrograde. And feel free to share. You can DM me on Instagram or email me at Celeste at Astrology by Celeste. Any stories of astrology in action you want to share with me? I'd love it. Okay, take good care.